What's up everybody, this is Mike, and in today's video we'll talk about long exposure photos for your Mavic Air and how you can make your drone photos more exciting and more interesting, more professional with the help of these tips that I'm going to give you today. So long exposure photography is something that we are used to seeing mostly at nighttime, and it's very easy to do. I'm actually creating a tutorial about night photography coming very soon to the channel, but today's topic is long exposure photos during the day, and they are really cool, very unique looking shots that you can take with your drone. The only thing you need for this to happen is of course your drone, the manual settings of your camera, and an ND filter. The ND filter is basically the most important part, as it provides a very dark glass on top of the lens of your camera, so you can manually change the shutter speed of your camera to maybe a second and a half, or even 2 seconds, so you can capture some silky smooth movement of the object that you're filming. So if it's water that you're trying to capture, it gives this nice silky smooth effect, and it's very unique looking. So I'm really a huge fan of this effect. So in today's video I'll show you how you can make your own long exposure photos during the day and what settings you need to use. So the first thing you need to capture long exposure photos with your drone is obviously to have ND filters. I have the one from Freewell Gear. They sent me an 8-pack with different types of filters. But in order to capture long exposure shots, you definitely need to use your darkest filter that you have. And in this case, my darkest filter is ND64. You want to use the longest shutter speed available. Between 1 second or 2 seconds is ideal for those kinds of shots, so you can capture some movement. But if you do that with a lighter ND filter, your shot will be very bright, so you need something to make it darker, and that's where the ND64 comes in very handy. So the first thing you need to do after you find the perfect spot for shooting is to go to the settings, and of course first you need to go to photo mode and then select RAW as image format. You really don't want to use JPEG, as you need the maximum amount of data for those type of shots, as you will be editing them in post, and that's where everything happens. So you definitely need to use RAW, so use that. You can choose the white balance. I have set mine to cloudy, as it was a very cloudy day. And then you need to go back to the main camera settings, enter in manual mode, set the ISO to the lowest value possible, so 100, and then you start playing with the shutter values. When you slide the shutter to around a second or 2 seconds, you will see that the shot is becoming very light, but that's not a problem. There is nothing to worry about. The first time when I started shooting those type of shots, I was a bit nervous. I was thinking that nothing is going to work even with the ND64, but trust me, you will be able to use that and edit in post to make it look good. Depending on your location, the amount of light you get around you, and the wind, you definitely need to play with the shutter speed so you can see which one is going to work best. In my case, I was constantly switching between 1 second, 1.6 seconds and 2 seconds, just so I can experiment and have more photos to play with in post. And you see me taking lots and lots of photos. That's the key, as you never really know how the shot is going to turn out until you go back home and you start editing. So having more photos to work with is definitely a huge plus. So make sure you take plenty of photos so you can choose the best out of them when you start editing later. And trust me, you'll need to take 20, 30 or even 40 photos before you're completely satisfied with 1 or 2 photos. So that was at least in my case. And once again, there weren't that many waves at that day, so capturing the movement of the waves was more difficult than it was supposed to be. But anyway, depending on your location, maybe you would be more lucky than me, and you would be able to capture a perfect shot within your first 5 or 10 shots. So let me show you the final results after editing 3 photos out of the 30 or so that I've taken. So as you can see, there was a lot of editing in those shots to make them look good and for me to be completely satisfied with how they look. Let me know if you want to see a complete tutorial on how I edit my photos, but generally I use Lightroom and tweak my photos by using the sliders for basically all of the different settings that you can play with in Lightroom. I used them all and tried to tweak them in such a way that I am completely satisfied with the final result. And that's it. That's how I captured those shots, the long exposure shots. Of course, like I said a couple of times already, the weather was not completely perfect for capturing long exposure shots, but I wanted to demonstrate how you can do that. So hopefully you were able to understand, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the final results. And there you guys have it. This has been my tutorial about long exposure photos during the day. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Once again, thanks to Freewell Gear for sending me those filters. They're really amazing and I will be using them a lot more in the future. That being said, thank you so much for watching, guys. Please like the video to show some support. Subscribe if you aren't already, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. Ciao.